So let's include the coal story as well. So we've looked at efficiency 2022, renewable energy 2022, energy 2022, and so on. This is from the International Energy Agency Coal 2022 analysis and forecast to 2025. No major good news, but let's read the abstract and then let's go through some numbers that project out to 2025. Coal sits in the center of climate. Let me get the pointer. Coal sits in the center of climate and energy discussions because it is the largest energy source globally for electricity generation. It is the largest source still, and for the production of iron and steel and of cement, as well as the largest single source of carbon dioxide emissions. And it's horrendously bad for health as well because of all the particulate matter associated with it and some sulfur dioxide emissions. The current energy crisis has forced some countries to increase their reliance on coal in spite of climate and energy targets. So this has been kind of a battle for the global south to look at the global north change its story on coal very quickly because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which we already talked about. Coal 2022 offers a thorough analysis of recent trends in coal demand, supply, trade, costs, and prices against the backdrop of rising concern about energy security and geopolitical tensions. It also provides forecasts to 2025 for demand, supply, and trade by region and by coal grade. So look at two types of coals. The report contains a deep analysis of China, whose influence on the coal market is unparalleled by any other country and in any other fuel. I won't go into the details of China itself. I'm just giving you a brief introduction, but you can go ahead and read the report if you want details on any particular line of thought in this brief podcast. The IEA's coal market report has been published every December since 2011, becoming the global benchmark for coal demand, supply, and trade forecasts. It is essential reading for anyone with an interest in climate and energy. Well, that's their own statement, but I would agree with it. So let's start looking at some numbers. Global coal consumption set to plateau through 2025. So that's the best news we can get out of this. So we're looking at millions of tons starting in 2000 for global coal consumption, and projection out to 2025 for China, India, United States, European Union, other Asian countries, and the rest of the world. So China dominates, as we said, but you can see that it may plateau by 2025 if everything holds up and there is no other geopolitical perturbation like the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the geopolitics of the energy markets associated with those, and the choices that are forced to be made by even the rich countries like the European Union. So you can see then there is India, European Union, and United States, with rest of the world being a player as well. And the changes in coal consumption at the global level over the same period in terms of millions of tons, you can see here in 2020 we were at 7511 metric tons, and 2021 we are at that should be millions of tons. 2021 7929, and 2022 8025. So that's the total. If you look at the projections out to 2025, there is a reduction from 8025 numbers of 2022 by the European Union, which again has to be watched out for in terms of what other factors may play in this expectation. And United States is expected to reduce by 82 million tons, rest of the world 39, but China will go up by 87 and India will go up by 117 million tons, and the rest of Asia adding 37. So by 2025 there is a tiny bit of increase, but it's still significant at 38. In the sense it's not a drop, an increase, even though it's plateauing by then. Strong growth in renewables will supply lion's share of additional power demand, with coal and gas filling the remaining modest gap. This is the projection again. So looking at the additional power demand in terawatt hours for 2021 and 2022. There was an increase of 828 terawatt hours, and it was reduced by nuclear and others by 113 terawatt hours, and renewables by 720, and then tiny bit added, the gaps added by coal and gas. For 2022 to 2025, the expectation that the additional global power demand and generation by source will go up by 2497 terawatt hours, with 159 coming from nuclear and others, renewables giving us 2255, and the gap being filled by coal and gas again to a tiny bit. So is this very optimistic? Well, we have to wait and see. Gas price markers, without going into details, this is the in US dollars per million British thermal units. So this is the TTF and Henry Hub, European, Netherlands, and US trading points. So I won't go into the details there, but you can see there are all kinds of ups and downs that were associated with the energy market perturbations. Changes in thermal coal consumption for non-power purposes by region, 2020 to 2025. So the two coal grades, thermal coal is basically used to boil water, use the steam for driving turbines. So this is the low grade coal that cannot be used for blast furnaces, for example, which is the metallurgical coal from which coke is made. We'll see in a minute. So you can see 2021-22 we had again big players, China, India, and then you had here so that's China, that's India. The green one is Southeast Asia. Others were actually reducing their coal consumption. European Union had a positive number, and the median value for the world was up here. And for 2021-2022, we had the COVID impact and the rest of it. So China reduced its thermal coal consumption, whereas India reduced it, but it was still a positive. India reduced with respect to 2020-2021, but it was still a positive number with respect to the base period. So you can see 2022 to 2025, China is supposed to reduce further. India will go up, continue to increase its coal consumption. These are projections, but still kind of things that one must account for and pay attention to. Southeast Asia up here, rest of the world, and European Union. Okay, so again, this is how we plateau, by somebody increasing consumption, somebody else decreasing consumption with respect to the base period. The metallurgical coal consumption and annual changes. This is higher grade coal 2020 to 2025. Some people argue it's an oxymoron to say high grade, low grade coal, because coal is just bad. But till cement, iron, steel, and so on that require metallurgical coal can move to other ways of doing business, this is going to be an issue to deal with. So here are the numbers for 2020, 2021, 2022. You can see that there's a slight bit of drop here out to in 2022. And again, this includes China, European Union, rest of the world, India, and Japan is here in the metallurgical coal consumption, and Russia and Korea as well on a very different scale, at 1 order of magnitude less. So just see that this is 1200 million tons and this is 40 million tons, and there is a drop here in terms of the source of where the coal came from. The changes in metallurgical coal consumption out to 2022 to 2025 is expected to be about 1080. So numbers don't add up because of this discretization, but out of that total, from 1080 of 2022 to 1078 of 2025, 16 is going to India, 8 by rest of the world, 3 by European Union, going down from these numbers. The green color is Japan and Korea, and Russia is reducing it, and China is reducing it by 14. So we are going totally back to about 1078 million tons by 2025. Okay, does that mean the rising power generation and demand in China will drop? Not really. Renewables will grow. Nuclear and gas and oil will grow. Those are fossil fuels, gas and oil. But coal will expand, even though not as much as expected, because renewables will, as we said before, meet the demand. So there is the demand. Okay, and annual changes in coal consumption by type and use in India for this period, you can see that in millions of tons. Steam coal power is a huge consumption of coal, and steam coal is here. And this is the met coal, so you can see this is for non-power sector, this is for the power sector. So steam coal is used for both power generation and other industrial activities as well. And you can see that that's going to drop, but not as much as one would hope for, especially because air quality problems both in China and India are massive. But if you look at the yearly change in power generation by source in terawatt hours, so this is again coal and coal products will dominate. Nuclear, gas and oil are shown to drop here, did drop in 2021, a little drop in 2022, but in 2023 they are expected to be a combination of renewables, nuclear, gas and oil, as well as coal. And by 2025 you see that renewables go up a little. In the projection, the nuclear, gas and oil drop, but coal remains. So this is something that has to be watched out for. What about the production? So global coal production over 2020 sorry about that. Global coal production for 2000 to 2025 in millions of tons again will plateau, with China still dominating the market. Russia, United States, Australia and Indonesia being the players, with rest of the world contributing as well. Changes in global coal production expected from 2021 to 2025. There is the 2021 number at about 300 million tons, combinations of India, Russia, China and Australia and so on. And in 2022 there was a drop because of Russia and Australia, and in 2022 to 2025 projections, United States will drop in its global coal production, European Union will cut down, Russia will cut down, and India will of course increase production. Indonesia is expected to cut down as well, even though the impact of energy market perturbations on Indonesia has to be watched out for. In terms of thermal coal trade, it has declined for the met coal. You can see that there is this projection of increase from 2024 to 2025, which you have to go and look at the report for causes. But the destinations here, again, China is a big destination, India is a big destination, rest of the world is there as well. And metallurgical coal trade developments, export by destination, again, China and India are noted separately, whereas the rest of the world contributes as well. So you can see that met coal trade will increase through 2025, but the thermal coal trade is projected to decline, with this kink in 2024, which has to be understood, of course. So global thermal coal export changes over 2021 to 2025. To go into the details of what's happening here, you can see that in 2021 it was just over 1020 million tons. In 2025 it's supposed to drop to 940 from 2022, which was above 2021, was up at 1040 instead of 1020. So the changes came from Russia and Australia, but Indonesia added, and so did South Africa and the rest of the world. And here the drop from 2022 to 2025 will come from rest of the world, from South Africa, United States and Russia, and a big drop here from Indonesia as well. Again, the details of what assumptions go into these projections you have to go and check in the report. Take it for what it is in this brief introduction. Met coal import changes over this period of 2021 to 2025. From 2021 there was a drop for the rest of the world as well as Europe, Korea and China, whereas India increased and so did other Asian countries. 2022 there was a drop which came from Europe, Korea and Japan, and it's expected to go up by China, India and Japan and the rest of the world. So 2025 will be slightly higher at 325 million tons or so. And met coal export changes 2021 to 2025. This is import change, this is export change. So the players here are Canada, Australia, Russia, Mongolia, Mozambique, United States and the rest of the world. So you can see that the slight drop in 2021 to 2022 came from Russia and Australia, but then there was a bump up by Canada in terms of exports, by US and Mozambique, which we didn't mention so far. In 2022, so it reached at just under 310 million tons. As for 2025, there is supposed to be again contribution from Mongolia, decreasing export, but export changes will Canada will add, Australia will add a lot, Russia will come back, Mongolia will United States is dropping here, Mongolia is going up and rest of the world. So numbers are to be expected to be up in terms of met coal export changes from 2021 to 2025 to just under 330 million tons. So it's a very brief introduction, but you see that coal remains very much a player, and this is obviously of concern in terms of global warming targets, and the unknowns still remain in terms of the geopolitics, like the Russian war and the impacts on the global energy markets, which we looked at elsewhere already. So keep all these things in mind and keep wondering how we are going to stay on target for decarbonization, net zero, global warming targets, emissions reductions, and so on and so forth. Okay.